Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining this live behind the scenes tour of our hospital and visitor center here in San Pedro, California. My name is John Warner, and I'm the CEO and of the Marine Mammal Care Center, and have the privilege of working here every day alongside all the colleagues that you can't see behind us that are caring for the animals, engaging with our visitors, and generally just running this very complex operation here. I want to give a warm welcome first to some visitors that we have joining us from all over the world. And in particular, we have folks from the Netherlands, from Sweden, from Poland and Australia, as well as here in the United States from Florida, New York, and New Jersey. Colorado, Ohio, Texas, South Carolina, and West Virginia, and of course, Illinois. And if I missed anyone, I please forgive me. And of course, everyone here joining from California, welcome. The Marine Mammal Care Center is just a few blocks away from one of the most extraordinary stretches of ocean on planet Earth. We're surrounded by a living and breathing ecosystem unlike anywhere else. The California Current, which is a nutrient-rich upwelling event, creates thriving kelp forests, great whale migrations right here offshore, sea lions, of course, raising pups on sun-drenched beaches, and 10 million people living right here alongside it all. Southern California's ocean is remarkable and it's vulnerable. And when the ecosystem comes under stress, our job is to step in. And what you're going to see in just a moment are the actions of us stepping in through the stories of 12 animals here on site right now at the care center. So they're mostly pups. They're extremely cute. And I think Jamie's going to go over here to our first pen and show you some of our animals. And then, Michelle, if you want to follow me. And once Jamie gets in place, I'll have you tell us just a little bit about what animals we're seeing in here, Michelle.
Yeah, so front and center right there on the right hand side, we have Lucille. So she's a northern fur seal pup. So if you notice, she looks a little bit different than the California sea lions that are in here right now. So northern fur seals breed in the Channel Islands and they pup in late June to early July. And those fur seals are with their moms for about 3 months or so. So Lucille was with her mom, but maybe just couldn't quite figure out how to forage appropriately. So
And
that's
you know what,
Lucille in
Michelle?
the
Sorry,
back.
I said Michelle as though everyone knows you because you're very famous here on site. And everyone does know you. But I should say, Dr. Rivard, Dr. Michelle Rivard, is our veterinarian and director of our conservation medicine programs here at the center. So sorry about that.
Oh, that's
Michelle?
okay. No worries. Yeah, Lucille deserves the spotlight. So that's her in the back there. And then here up front in the pen, we have three California sea lion pups. So all of these pups came into care because they were separated from mom early. So they're all here due to malnutrition. They should be with their moms until they're about 9 months old or so, into to March and April. You can see one is suckling on another right now. So unfortunately not it's not his mom, but we're doing our best to be a good surrogate for them. So they're all here because they're too thin. They were separated from mom too early, unable to forage on their own. So we picked them up and rescued them, and they're going to stay with us until they get nice and roly poly.
And Michelle, the suckling is akin to a baby with a binky, right? It's calming, soothing. She was also weaned too early, but
Yeah, so she's probably trying to nurse right now because or he. So these guys again are born in June as well. So they should be with their moms nursing till they're about 9 months of age, and these guys are about 5 to 6 months old. So he's probably trying to figure out where the milk is at.
yeah. And this pen looks different than all the other pens right now. So there's lots of kelp, rocks, the slide, the pools. Your team does this all the time for our patients, and it falls under this banner of enrichment. Can you just describe the intentionality, why we do this, why it's so important?
Yeah, enrichment is really important, especially in younger animals, because we want to make sure that they don't get bored here, that their brains and their minds are being stimulated. And we also want to set them up for as much success to be able to forage in the wild. So some of these structures that you see in here allow them to climb, and it kind of replicates some parts of their natural environment because they're pretty good climbers on rocks and let me take it on rocks and things like that. And then the kelp is also part of their natural environment. So we try to make things just a little bit less sterile and a little bit more enriching, because that ability to sort of explore and learn about their environment is a really important part of them being successful after they're released into the wild.
Great, thanks. And you mentioned the first seal's name is Lucille. And if I recall, she was named by the reporting party. So the person who calls our hotline reporting animals in distress. And when they stay with the animal until our rescuers get there, we offer them the chance to name the patient. And they named her Lucille. There's of the three sea lions that are currently over here in the corner, Jamie, if you want to show them, we have Kung Fu, Heathrow, and Peppermint. And Kung Fu was named by Robert Barry and Shauna, two of our supporters. And then Heathrow was named in memory of a very dear friend of Lisa Jordan's, who passed away recently. And Heathrow was actually rescued the very same day as Heathrow passed away. So, very meaningful moment for them to be able to do this in memory of naming.
Yeah,
Very
that's
sweet.
sweet.
And then Peppermint, I assume, is because of the holidays and is on our regular
Yeah,
named
on our
list to
list.
pull
Yeah,
from. So peppermint, not peppermint
perfect.
patty, but peppermint as in the
Peppermint.
candy. Yes, peppermint. Very cute. That should have been. Anyway, back on track. So anything else about these pups? Like how long do you think they'll be here, Michelle, on average? And it's really about getting them fattened up and
Mhm.
eating lots of fish. Is that correct?
Yeah, so you'll see the difference from these pups when you compare them with some other pups we'll show you later. So these guys have been here for only a couple of weeks, if that. Some of the animals have only been here for a few days. So you can see they're still quite skinny, maybe a little bit more lethargic. Like that guy in the corner there is resting. So they'll be here likely for at least another 2 months or so until they get to a nice, robust body condition, until they're able to eat fish on their own. And then we'll evaluate them, release them back into the wild.
Great. And stay tuned because you'll get invitations for live stream release events as well as potentially in-person release events where you can see these animals return to their ocean home. It's really the ultimate joy refill moment. So stay tuned for that. Dave, are there any questions in the chat from folks about enrichment at the moment? No, if you have questions, don't forget, please put them into the chat. We have people monitoring the chat and can answer those in real time or during Q&A moments that will stop and take the time to do that.
Are we doing this?
Yeah, I think we'll go over in just a moment, but I assume you've got some good shots there, Jamie. So we'll let people just take a look at Lucille. She's a climber. She likes to be on the wall. I think a lot of times, Michelle, if I'm correct, it's to get away from the sea lions that she's not necessarily all that fond of.
Yeah, sometimes northern fur seals and California sea lions do actually share a habitat and a rookery out in the wild, but they're not fond of each other sometimes. So
Fur seals act a little bit like a cat,
yeah,
right?
they can be a little sassy. They like their space, whereas the sea lions like to make a cuddle puddle on top of each other. So
And so enrichment that you were describing, we're really planning to do more of this into the future. Can you talk a little bit about things that they're not seeing here, but that we want to start rolling out?
yeah, so there's some enrichment items, like fake kelp that you can actually stuff with fish and you can sink it to the bottom of a pool. So that makes it so that the animals actually have to dive to the bottom of the pool and simulate foraging for fish. So that's one item. There are also different fish boxes that simulate different ways that they would forage in the wild. So those are all items that are sort of on our wish list that we could use to sort of enrich the lives of the patients that are in their care and set them up for success so that they can learn how to forage in the wild.
Thanks, Michelle. Jamie, can for the sake of time, if I'm going to ask you to move along, and I know probably get a lot of comments that say, no, we want to see the cute little babies, but
My
um,
kids.
but the animal you're going to see now is a male California sea lion named Kitten. And Michelle, this patient has a pretty dramatic story. It's two times in 1 year coming into us. So can you talk a little bit about the first time he was here and now this time, and just what that means for this year that wasn't so great for sea lions?
Yeah, so Kitten, who you're seeing in front of you, is an adult male California sea lion. He actually stranded at the Marine Mammal Care Center this spring during the domoic acid bloom. So there was a harmful algal bloom this spring that caused the stranding of hundreds, thousands actually, of California sea lions and dolphins suffering from seizures and disorientation and other neurological signs. So Kitten actually stranded during that harmful algal bloom event this April. And we brought him in. He was with us for a couple of weeks to allow him to recover. We released him back into the wild. So that was great news. But then unfortunately, he restranded again about a month and a half ago with another condition called leptospirosis. So that's an infection that causes kidney disease. Um, and in addition to kitten being exposed to that or being affected by leptospirosis, we also had one of the worst years on record for leptospirosis strandings on the central and northern California coast. They had hundreds of California sea lions stranding with that. So he kind of got hit with the two. The two environmental events this year that really had a pretty traumatic effect on California sea lions. But fortunately, Kitten has done really well. His blood work is normalized, and he's going to be ready to get released pretty soon.
Yeah, thanks. In fact, isn't he going home tomorrow?
He's going home tomorrow.
That's
He's
very
gained
exciting.
like 50 pounds since he's been here too.
Yeah, so a very positive success story in a year that was not good at all for California sea lions, and I think it demonstrates the rapidly changing environmental conditions that not only our animals are facing, but that we're facing, and the consequences that come with that. So thanks to everyone who's joining us today, who's made caring for him now twice possible. He deserves the care that he's received, and he deserves now a third chance at a healthy and vibrant life, especially given that a lot of the things that we're seeing change in our environment are caused by human actions that we're all very aware of. And you can find out more about those and what you can do to take action to support a healthier environment by going to our website. Lots of information there. So
he's had a rough 2025.
Oh, so we have a question about enrichment. So, Dave, what is the question?
About enrichment engagement. How are these modalities created? Sounds like it's case by case, but sounds like it's evidence based and as well, and maybe built up over time.
Well, as far as the equipment that we procure, that we purchase. But if we're talking about how we have evidence to show that providing these enrichment items shortens the time, or providing these enrichment items helps these animals in rehab. There's been some work to show that providing these items reduces the time it takes for patients to begin eating fish. And additionally, it also helps them to be released back into the wild sooner, because when they start to eat that fish sooner, they gain weight more quickly. So those are some of the factors that we use to assess how enrichment is helpful for our animals in care.
So we're moving right now. We're going to go see some of the patients in our pools. So forgive us while we are making the journey with our equipment to the other side of our facility. Jamie, you're good to go. So our first stop is pen 3. And we have in here gingerbread, so another holiday named patient. This is a California sea lion that was rescued from Redondo Beach. So, Michelle, what's going on with this guy?
Yeah, so I'm sorry, Gingerbread was just rescued a couple days ago. So he came in, he was in pretty good body condition, but you may be able to see on camera he has that injury to his left eye. And whenever we see eye injuries or injuries around the head or neck, we always suspect that they could have some sort of trauma or perhaps gunshot. And that's actually indeed what happened with this animal. Is we sedated him for his admit exam, took an X-ray of his head, and we actually found bullets in his head. Fortunately, most of them are in the skin and blubber area, not affecting his brain, but it did affect that eye. You can see. So at this point, we're just kind of treating him with pain medications, antibiotics, making sure that eye doesn't get too infected. We want him to stabilize, and then we'll assess that eye and see if he can keep it in or if it may need to be removed. But luckily, his right eye is still good, and he can still see and eat fish with that. And you'd be surprised how well sea lions can do with just one eye.
And Jamie, can you show the live fish swimming around in the pool? And Michelle, tell us a little bit about why we do live fish, which is another enrichment, but it's also giving you other information. We want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so live fish is really helpful for a multitude of reasons. The first, if we have an animal like this juvenile male who has not ever eaten, dead thawed herring in his life, sometimes he thinks that the fish that we offer him are a little bit less interesting, and the live fish can be more stimulating for them and can encourage them to eat. And it's also a good test to be able to make sure they're able to catch the live fish. They're able to jump in the pool, catch the fish on their own, see the fish. And it's also very enriching for them to be able to have that opportunity to do so.
And especially with an animal with an eye injury, I'm assuming it's even more important for you to see that they can successfully forage before determining a release date.
Yeah, definitely. Making sure that they're able to forage on their own is really important.
Great. Dave, any questions? Okay, then we will move on to our largest pool, which is pool 6. And I believe we have 5 California sea lion pups in this pool right now. Just wait till we get over here. So you want to show the sign here, please, Jamie? So we have Valentina and Ray, Pumpkin, Keola, and Cranberry. All right.
Okay, if they feed Jamie?
So we are going to be doing a feed right now. Jamie, are you ready to go? So, all right. So go ahead. So you're going to see these animals. They're all lined up at the door waiting for their fish. So they throw a couple of the fish into the pool to get them away from the door so they could come in and feed them. So Michelle, you want to talk about anything that you're seeing that you would look at as a vet and caregiver for these animals?
Yeah, so these again are all California sea lions that stranded due to malnutrition. As you can see, they're in a lot better body condition. They're a lot bigger, fatter, more robust than the animals we looked at earlier. They all eagerly jumped into the pool and are diving and swimming, and you can see them coming to the surface and just inhaling those fish without issue. So that's all a good sign.
And Michelle, we typically go through about 150,000 pounds of fish thereabouts, depending upon whether there's an emergency stranding event or not per year. This is all herring that's sustainably caught up in Canada. So we have had some issues lately with tariffs on imports and the pricing adjustments that tax puts on that product and the costs. But we also have some very generous donors, and one in particular who wants to remain anonymous, but has offered $100,000 challenge grant specifically for food. So we are currently, I think, halfway through meeting that challenge. So anyone who wants to contribute towards that, it will be doubled dollar for dollar so that we have enough funds as we go into 2026 to buy all of the fish that we're going to need for the year for our patients. So you can use the donate button on your screen if you'd like to make a contribution or send anything in to us at any time. You could go to our website, marinemammalcare.org. Question, yeah. Dave.
So about gingerbread. Eye injuries, gunshots specifically, and then did it ever know who's doing the shoot?
So the question is about gingerbread, who we were just looking at over in Pen 3, and whether those types of injuries to the eye, whether gunshots or other eye injuries, are common here at the center. Unfortunately, it's more common than we want it to be. But Dr. Rivard, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, we do see gunshot wounds rather commonly. This year, we probably had a little more than a dozen or so gunshot wounds. That can fluctuate from year to year. And one of the tricky things about some of those cases is that you may not always know what's impacting that animal unless you actually take an x-ray because you can't really see the bullets. So whatever we have estimated for some of those wounds is probably an underestimate. As far as finding out who's responsible, unfortunately, it's not easy to track that information down.
Yeah, so what we're doing, and we're actually launching this at the beginning of next year, a reward fund and a neighborhood watch type of program, a Marina Watch program, We have a lot of people who live on the coast and have boats and marinas that care deeply about these animals. What we want to do is make sure that the folks that might be the ones who would shoot one of these animals knows that they're being watched, that there's consequences, that there's a reward for anyone who turns them in. It's a $10,000 reward, which does help inspire people to do even the right thing that they might have already been doing, but do it faster and share with us any information they have about who might be doing this video or pictures that would enable NOAA, our authorizing body at the government level, to go after and prosecute. So those are two things that we will be launching and focusing on at the beginning of 26 in order to address what is too common a problem. And for every animal that we see that comes into the center, we know that there is a X factor multiplier number of those that we don't ever see that don't strand on the beach, letting us know that they've been wounded. So we do want to focus and drive more attention to this issue. Yeah, Dave, I'm going to hand you the microphone so you can help with the questions here.
Abigail is asking, oh, my name is Dave Bader. I'm the Chief Operations and Education Officer here. We have Abigail asking in the chat about leptospirosis and whether it's paralleling HABs with ocean warming. Is there any kind of connection with the prevalence of leptospirosis and HABs? Are they connected? And then also concerns about HPIA.
Yeah, HPAI.
Necessarily in that order.
That's a really good question. So at this point, no, we don't have any evidence that the HABs are connected to leptospirosis. We do know that leptospirosis, there are outbreaks usually every year in California sea lions. It's a disease that is endemic in the population, meaning California sea lions are a regular carrier. So we do tend to see some strandings associated with leptospirosis, usually late summer and early fall. But once every 5 years or so, there's usually and we call it an epizootic or a bad outbreak. And that happened this year. So as far as we know, it's not been linked to changes in the environment or changes in or any harmful algal blooms. Just was an unfortunate year to be a California sea lion. As far as highly pathogenic avian influenza goes, not to be a downer, but that could potentially be a major threat to animals on our West Coast. We're fortunate that we haven't had any major die-offs in the northern hemisphere like they've seen in the southern hemisphere, but there have been sporadic cases in New England, in the southeast, and in Washington in marine mammals. And the biggest threat to that is if avian influenza goes, instead of being transmitted from the birds to the mammals directly, is transmitted from mammal to mammal. And that's when we can really see a profound impact at the population level. So we're hoping for the best and preparing for the worst in some of those cases.
So that's really been impacting our pinnipeds in the southern hemisphere, like elephant seals, reports of them maybe even having in their populations, really heavy impacts in South America as well. But it hasn't made it up this way with the same level of impacts, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly. So those larger cases that we're seeing in the southern hemisphere, that's mammal to mammal spread, whereas the cases we've seen up here in North America have been bird to mammal. So usually you see less devastating effects in those cases.
So this is something we see obviously in birds as well, and our partners across the way that deal with our marine birds at International Bird Rescue, they've seen that. So it's good for y'all to know that you could see sick and injured seals and sea lions, call us at 800-39-WHALE, but marine birds that might be succumbing to some of these diseases as well as HPAI, we want to call International Bird Rescue for those. Very cool. Do we have any other questions online? We have your veterinarian, a marine biologist, and a CEO here.
If there's no other questions, I want to say thank you to everyone for joining. And you've heard some of the stories that brought these animals into our care, and those stories could be quite dramatic. And we're seeing more things come at us more frequently as we continue seeing environmental changes. But I want everyone to know, and it's ending on a hopeful note, that we know how to care for these animals. We have the scientists, we have the veterinarians, we have the partnerships, we have and know that there's the urgency. And most importantly, we have you. All of you are what allows all of this to happen. And so, on behalf of our entire team, thank you so much for caring about this extraordinary coastline. Thank you for standing with the animals who have no voice. And thank you for recognizing that when we save marine life, we're also protecting our communities, our beaches, our economy, and our own future. So happy holidays. Best wishes for a wonderful new year. And we'll let you stay on and continue looking at these sea lions in the pool for a couple more minutes. If there's any other questions, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll answer you in the chat. Or come and visit. We're open Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday from 10 to 4 p.m. And you're welcome to visit anytime. It's free.